Most people don't break because life is too brutal. They break because their mind is too soft. They hand their power to every emotion that passes through them. They let other people's opinions tell them who they are. They let fear quietly make every major decision. Then, when pressure finally hits rejection, failure, betrayal, they crumble. Not because they were doomed, but because they never learned to rule the one thing that mattered, their own mind. Machiavelli understood this long before any of us. He didn't believe the strongest mind was the nicest, the most forgiving, or the most emotional. He believed the strongest mind is the one under command. Your mind is your throne. If you don't sit on it, someone else will. Being mentally untouchable doesn't just happen. You don't wake up one morning suddenly immune to judgment, rejection, and chaos. You build that state brick by brick through discipline, detachment, and strategy. The world will test you. It will use heartbreak, humiliation, loss, and disrespect as weapons. Most people will take those hits personally and fall apart. But you're not most people, are you? You're here because you're tired of being dragged around by your reactions. You're tired of replaying conversations in your head, of letting anxiety run the show, of feeling powerless every time life shifts. You want to control what you focus on. You want to decide what deserves your energy. You want peace that doesn't break every time someone disappoints you. Think of yourself as a king or queen. Your mind is your kingdom. Either you rule it calmly and completely, or you let the crowd storm the gates and tell you how to live. So, before we dive into the 7 ruthless lessons, pause and ask yourself, do you actually control your mind? Or have you outsourced that job to other people, to circumstances, to moods? Because that answer shapes everything. If your emotions are owned by the outside world, you will always be its victim. But if you take control of your inner world, you become something else entirely. Untouchable. Untouchable by failure, because a loss is data, not a death sentence. Untouchable by betrayal, because you expected human nature, not fairy tales. Untouchable by chaos, because your center doesn't move just because the world does. From this moment on, you're going to think a little more like Machiavelli. You will start to detach from emotional impulses. You will begin to study people instead of being shocked by them. You will use discipline as armor and silence as a weapon. Once you truly rule your mind, nobody ever fully owns your peace again. Now, before we get into the first lesson, say this to yourself, and if you're watching this on YouTube, drop it in the comments as a contract with yourself. From today, I choose strength over emotion. Lesson 1. Control the narrative. Power doesn't begin with muscles, money, or status. It begins with perception. The way people see you influences how they treat you, trust you, respect you, and how far they think they can push you. Machiavelli understood that the world is not governed by truth. It is ruled by appearance. People don't see your intentions. They see your posture, your tone, your calmness, your mystery. They don't feel the complexity of your mind. They react to the image you project. You can be wise, loyal, skilled, and powerful on the inside. But if you let other people write your story, you've surrendered your crown before the battle even starts. One of the most dangerous beliefs you can hold is this: the truth will protect me. It won't. The truth is often too quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't chase people. It doesn't force anyone to understand. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see but few can touch, can." Translation: the world responds to what it sees, not what is. People decide your value before you speak. They judge your strength before they know your story. They make assumptions from your body language, your energy, your expression. If you come across as uncertain, apologetic, overly eager, you invite people to dismiss you or walk over you. If you come across as composed, measured, and hard to read, they hesitate. To become mentally untouchable, you must become the author of your own narrative. You decide what your silence means. You decide how your mistakes are framed. You decide whether you are seen as fragile or as someone whose mind is never easily accessed or controlled. Here's the key: never over-explain. The moment you start desperately defending yourself, you've already lowered your status. A calm, grounded silence is louder than 1,000 pleading explanations. Let them assume. Let them misread you. Let them talk. The less certain they are about you, the more power you quietly hold. In every room, there is an invisible battle happening, a silent competition for psychological dominance. Some people fight for attention. The intelligent fight for control. You don't need to announce yourself. You don't need to perform. You don't need to force respect. You let your presence speak first. Confidence is felt before it is understood. Authority is sensed before it's proven. Every movement, every pause, every small reaction should carry one clear message: I am in command. You don't need validation. You need precision. Understand this deeply. When you control perception, you can reshape reality. A person who looks calm during chaos is seen as powerful. A person who looks desperate for approval is seen as weak, no matter how right they are. The human mind believes what it sees more than what it hears. If people repeatedly see you composed, measured, and strategic, their brains will label you as such, even if you're still learning to master that control internally. Machiavelli wrote that reputation is the foundation of all power. He said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Appear strong, even when uncertain. Appear calm, even when pressured." Your expression, your tone, your silence, these are your tools. Let your quiet presence be louder than their noise. When people try to label you, don't argue. Rewrite the label through your actions. When they doubt you, prove them wrong with results, not explanations. Control isn't about manipulation. It's about direction. You decide how your energy is interpreted in a chaotic world. And when you master this, something profound happens. You stop chasing validation and start commanding respect. You stop living reactively and start directing the story. Because the one who owns his narrative owns his destiny. Now say this to yourself and drop it in the comments if you're watching. I control my image. Lesson 2. Detach from emotion. Emotion is the simplest tool the world uses to control you. If someone can make you angry, scared, or offended, they can steer you like a puppet. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He observed that people ruled by emotions are predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. Detachment isn't coldness, it's strategy. It's the power to stay centered in the middle of chaos. When you detach, you stop wasting energy on things that don't move you forward. You stop reacting to every insult, every rumor, every disappointment. You replace reaction with observation. And in that stillness, you become dangerous. Most people think being real means expressing every emotion that appears. They wear their feelings like open wounds and call it honesty. But uncontrolled emotion isn't honesty. It's vulnerability disguised as truth. When you react too quickly, you reveal where you can be attacked. You hand people the map to your weaknesses, and trust me, they'll use it. Manipulation doesn't need power, it needs access, emotional access. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." He meant that the wise move with control, responding only when it serves their purpose. The fool reacts instantly. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting feelings make decisions for you. You can feel anger, but choose silence. You can feel pain, but still move forward. You can feel disappointment, but keep your focus sharp. Every emotion is a storm it passes. You don't chase storms. You watch them. That calm observation is what Machiavelli called command. The ability to remain still while everyone else breaks under pressure. People fear that kind of calmness, because when they can't read you, they can't control you. Picture this. Two people get insulted. One explodes, shouts, loses control. The other simply stares unmoved, maybe with a faint smile. Who wins that moment? The second one. Always. He didn't react, he redirected. He didn't fight, he observed. That's psychological mastery. It's not about suppressing emotion, it's about owning it. You choose when to move, when to speak, when to strike. That's the difference between rulers and the ruled. Machiavelli advised leaders to appear merciful, sincere, humane, and to be those things when possible. But he warned, when it's necessary not to be so, you must know how to change instantly. That's emotional detachment. Using emotion when it strengthens you. Silencing it when it weakens you. Emotion should serve you, not enslave you. And when you finally stop reacting to everything, your world quiets down. You stop explaining yourself to people who'll never understand. You stop expecting fairness from a world that doesn't run on fairness, it runs on power. With emotional distance, patterns appear. You see the truth beneath behavior. You stop taking things personally and start learning strategically. That's when you begin to win quietly. When you master detachment, insults can't shake you, betrayal can't break you, and chaos can't move you. You might bend, but you never snap. You operate with stillness, not fear, because nothing can control a mind that refuses to react. Now say this to yourself, and if you're watching, put it in the comments. I feel, but I do not fall. Lesson 3. Expect betrayal. Trust strategy. Betrayal isn't rare, it's normal. Loyalty is not eternal, it's conditional. Machiavelli warned that people stay loyal only as long as it benefits them. Once it doesn't, they change. That doesn't make them monsters. It just makes them human. The sooner you understand this, the less pain you'll feel when people flip. The wise don't depend on promises. They build systems that function even when those promises break. Most people suffer because they expect loyalty in a world built on convenience. They think consistency is moral law, but in reality, it's a luxury. Expecting betrayal doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you prepared. Machiavelli wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." He meant that loyalty bends with self-interest, and you must not take it personally. Betrayal isn't always evil. It's information. It tells you who values advantage over integrity, who pretends for gain, who will leave when the winds change. The strategic mind replaces blind trust with structure. Never tie your peace or progress to one person. Tie it to systems. When you depend on emotion, you're vulnerable. When you depend on design, you're independent. That's not cold, it's intelligent. When you expect betrayal, you start seeing it early. You read patterns. You notice when praise feels rehearsed. You sense when loyalty feels rented. That's power. Machiavelli believed that foresight is the greatest form of defense. The ruler who predicts deception before it happens never loses control. He wrote, "The wise man does not expose himself needlessly to danger. but in great crises, he gives even his life. That's not pessimism, it's realism. Care selectively. Protect your energy from unstable people and unworthy causes. People aren't destroyed by betrayal. They're destroyed by denial. They refuse to believe it could happen until it did. But when you expect it, it can't surprise you. You don't build walls, you build gates. You stay open, but guarded. Alert, not bitter. Cautious, not cold. Aware, but unshaken. When you expect betrayal, you stop fearing it. And when you stop fearing it, you become untouchable. Your preparation becomes your protection. Your calm becomes your armor. Say it with me. I trust strategy, not sympathy. Lesson 4. Appear calm. Think cold. In a world that thrives on noise and panic, calmness is the rarest and most intimidating form of strength. Most people mistake composure for weakness, but Machiavelli saw it as one of the sharpest psychological weapons a person can possess. He knew that when you appear calm while everyone else is falling apart, you project superiority without saying a word. A calm mind can see what chaos hides. A cold thinker can detect patterns buried under panic. When you stay composed while others lose control, people start to fear your stability. They realize they can't shake you, and that mystery becomes your dominance. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must learn how not to be good." He didn't mean cruelty. He meant emotional discipline, the power to detach from kindness when it weakens your authority. Anyone can be good when life is smooth, but to remain calm when everything burns, that's divine. When the world expects you to break, and you don't, their illusion of power over you collapses. Calmness terrifies the unstable. It makes impulsive people second-guess themselves. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you're planning, and how you can stay so still while they unravel. That silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their chaos back at them. The world respects the person who remains centered under pressure because it's so rare. Most people are slaves to reaction. They speak too fast, move too soon, and lose too much. The cold strategist pauses, observes, and moves with precision. Patience isn't weakness, it's time control. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. Therefore, one must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves." That balance is everything. A calm surface, a calculating core. You must appear tranquil like water, but sharp as ice beneath it. Never reveal your tension, doubt, or fear. Let them wonder if you even feel it. The less people know about your emotions, the more unpredictable you become, and unpredictability is pure power. It forces others to play by your rhythm. Train your inner voice to ask one question every time irritation strikes. Does reacting help me win? If the answer is no, stay silent. That silence will unsettle people more than any argument ever could. A calm reaction ends conflicts faster than anger because calmness suggests control, and control wins games long before words do. The cold mind doesn't seek to dominate through noise. It dominates through energy. Even in a hostile room, speak slowly. Keep your gaze steady. Move with purpose. True confidence doesn't shout, it glows quietly. This lesson isn't about hiding emotion. It's about controlling the theater of your presence. Everything others see should serve your strategy. When others are irrational, appear rational. When they rush, move slowly. When they shout, speak softly. Show the world that nothing moves you unless you decide to move. Over time, that becomes your armor, an aura that can't be shaken. People won't know your limits. They won't know what offends you or what breaks you, because you'll never show it. You'll be the calm in every storm, the observer among reactors, the strategist among victims. Now say it with me, and if you're watching, leave it below. My calmness is my power. Lesson 5. Keep power in silence. Silence is not emptiness. It's concentration power in its purest form. The more you talk, the more you reveal. And once people can read you, they can predict you. Prediction kills advantage. Machiavelli understood that mystery is control. He knew silence wasn't the absence of communication, it was strategic communication. When you speak less, people fill the silence with their own interpretations. Their assumptions become your camouflage. Their imagination becomes your weapon. The quiet person is never truly ignored. They're studied, analyzed, whispered about. Their every word carries weight because it's rare. Meanwhile, the loud reveal themselves in every sentence. They use words to beg for validation. But power doesn't explain itself, it simply exists. When you justify your choices, you give others permission to question them. When you argue, you admit someone's opinion matters. Silence destroys that illusion. It sends one clear message: I don't owe you an explanation. Machiavelli wrote, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." He understood that silence carries risk. It invites misunderstanding. But that misunderstanding is useful, because people don't fear what they understand. They fear what they can't interpret. The quiet one becomes a mystery, and mystery commands respect. To master silence, you must first kill the urge to prove yourself. Most people talk to protect their ego. They explain. They defend. They overshare, thinking it makes them look strong. It doesn't. It exposes insecurity. The Machiavellian mind has no such need. It speaks only with intent. Only when silence stops serving its purpose. Get comfortable with pauses, with unspoken tension, with letting others fill the silence you create. While they talk to fill space, you're learning everything about them. Silence turns conversations into mirrors. People reveal themselves while trying to figure you out. Their tone, their expressions, their pace. It all tells you what you need to know. In negotiations or confrontations, silence bends the battlefield. It makes the impatient expose their strategy. It makes the arrogant talk themselves into mistakes. Every extra second you stay quiet, they reveal something new. Machiavelli thrived on observation. He knew that a person who listens more than they speak gathers 10 times more leverage. Silence isn't weakness, it's stored energy. Like a sword in its sheath, it waits for the right moment. A person who rarely speaks is assumed to think deeply. Their words carry weight precisely because they're not thrown away carelessly. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Just be the one who doesn't need to speak. Over time, silence becomes your identity. It makes you respected, unpredictable, and feared all at once. And when you finally decide to speak, your words cut through the air like a blade. Power isn't loud. It's deliberate. It's controlled. It's knowing what not to say. Keep your plans hidden. Keep your feelings unreadable. Keep your energy contained. When people can't decode you, they can't defeat you. Now repeat it. My silence speaks power. Lesson 6. Master the art of absence. Presence loses its power when it becomes constant. The more available you are, the less valuable you seem. Machiavelli knew that scarcity is the essence of influence. A leader who shows up too often becomes ordinary. but one who appears rarely on his own terms becomes a myth. Absence isn't withdrawal. It's a calculated move. It creates space for mystery to grow, for curiosity to build, for respect to deepen. When people can't always reach you, they start to imagine you. They replay your words, they interpret your silence, they anticipate your next move. That anticipation is power. Every great strategist understands this. Visibility means nothing without timing. Show up constantly, and you'll be ignored. Appear selectively, and every entrance feels like an event. The weak chase attention because they fear being forgotten. The strong disappear to remind the world of their value. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are driven by two principal impulses, love and fear. Absence can create both. When you step away, some will miss you. Others will worry about losing your favor. Either way, you remain in control. Constant exposure dulls mystery. When people think they fully understand you, they stop respecting you. But when you're slightly out of reach, they fill in the gaps with imagination. And imagination always paints you larger than life. Absence also protects your mind. When you remove yourself from noise, you regain perspective. You stop reacting to the crowd's emotions and start seeing the chessboard clearly. The Machiavellian thinker values solitude not for comfort, but for recalibration. Mastering absence means knowing when to retreat. You don't announce it. You don't explain it. You simply vanish when necessary and reappear only when your presence serves your purpose. Those who notice your absence reveal who truly values you. Those who don't never mattered. Distance filters loyalty. It separates the curious from the committed. It reveals who's drawn to your energy and who is only drawn to your attention. Machiavelli advised rulers to manage their visibility carefully, understanding that distance sustains power. A constant flame burns out fast. A controlled flame lasts for years. You don't need to be everywhere to be felt. You need to be remembered. Your absence should speak louder than other people's presence. Let them wonder where you are, what you're thinking, and when you'll return. That uncertainty keeps you relevant long after you've gone silent. And here's the paradox. When you disappear, the world talks about you more. They speculate, they analyze, they project. You've become an idea instead of just a person. The world chases what it can't have and respects what it can't control. So when you feel the urge to overprove yourself, step back instead. Create distance that amplifies your value. Disappear not to hide, but to remind the world that your time and energy are privileges, not guarantees. Now repeat this affirmation quietly to yourself. My absence amplifies my power. Lesson 7. Rule your mind. Rule everything. Every kind of power begins in the same place, inside your mind. If you can't lead your thoughts, you'll never lead your life. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He saw that the real battlefield isn't the world outside, but the one within. The world doesn't defeat you, your reactions do. The strongest person isn't the one who controls others, but the one who remains calm and deliberate when everything around him falls apart. When you can command your mind, no insult, failure, or betrayal can truly touch you. Most people lose this war early. They let anxiety drive their choices. They let emotions dictate their words. They let fear decide when to act. Their thoughts drift aimlessly, like ships with no captain, always reacting, never ruling. Machiavelli once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." What he meant was deeper than politics. Your surroundings mirror your state of mind. If your environment is chaotic, it's because your thoughts are undisciplined. If your world is noisy, it's because your focus has no guard. Control begins with awareness. Observe your thoughts like a strategist studying his soldiers. Discipline them. Organize them. Command them. Your mind can be your servant or your master. If you fail to govern it, it will betray you. Every doubt, fear, and insecurity will rise and take control. But once you learn to detach from impulsive thinking, your mind becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. Machiavellian strength doesn't come from aggression, it comes from composure. The disciplined thinker moves slower, but every move hits harder. He doesn't let the past drag him down, or the future consume him. He acts from clarity, not reaction. That's what separates conquerors from the conquered, not luck, but mental sovereignty. Training your mind means replacing weakness with command. Replace fear with logic. Replace emotion with intention. Replace noise with silence. Each time your mind drifts into distraction, pull it back. Each time impulse tempts you to react, stay still. Every act of self-command builds unshakable discipline. Soon, your mind stops sabotaging you and starts serving you. You stop fighting yourself. You start moving with precision. The world can't manipulate a person whose inner world is aligned. When rejection, failure, or insult comes, they fade quickly because your mind decides what has meaning and what doesn't. Machiavelli believed reason must always rule over desire. Desire blinds judgment, reason restores it. The one who remains detached yet decisive becomes untouchable. Every empire begins as a disciplined thought. Every downfall begins as a distracted one. When fear rules your mind, you become easy to control. When discipline rules your mind, you become impossible to control. Control of mind equals control of destiny. You stop living reactively and start moving deliberately, choice by choice, calm and unshaken. Rule your mind as a sovereign rules a kingdom. Protect it from ignorance, doubt, and noise. Feed it with discipline. Guard it with silence. And let focus be its throne. Because once you rule your mind, you don't have to chase peace. You become peace. Say this to yourself and drop it in the comments. My mind obeys only me. Being mentally untouchable doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means nothing controls you. You become the master of your reactions, the architect of your focus, the guardian of your peace. Every challenge becomes data. Every failure becomes fuel. Machiavelli taught that real power is earned through discipline, observation, and restraint. Never through luck or approval. When you live by these laws, you don't just survive the world, you move through it with calm authority. Detach when necessary. Stay silent when it serves you. Disappear when you must. Remain calm when others panic. And above all, rule your mind. Because when you own your mind, nothing owns you. Silence, strategy, and self-control. That is the path of the untouchable. Walk it. Live it. Rule it.